From one user trading stocks to save his family farm, to another user trading his way out of debt, we're gonna go over the freakiest Wall Street bets trades of fall. Elon I Love You is a user who has been way too committed to MicroStrategy calls. Before getting active on Wall Street Bets, Elon I Love You posted on the Borrow and Prize Picks subreddits, which is a pretty dangerous combination. Towards the start of November, he boldly threw $990 into Tesla calls, which was all that he had in his portfolio. Luckily, Tesla was steamrolling its way to the moon at the start of November, and Elon I Love You's portfolio bounced all the way up to 50K. Most sensible people would take their 50x gain and have a good Thanksgiving dinner, but Elon I Love You did not want to take this route. Only one day after 50xing his money, he threw $30,000 into out-of-the-money Coinbase calls. First of all, these calls expired only a week later, but second of all, Coinbase was already trading at the highest price it's been at in the past 3 years. This is a very risky play, but he did say that he was gonna get to Valhalla or die trying and spend the rest of his life behind Wendy's. This was a trade so risky that even the Wall Street Bets mods were clowning on him. In a strange turn of events, Elon I Love You would get the last laugh and prove everyone wrong. On Monday, November 11th, Coinbase jumped 19.7%. Coinbase's 20% jump a day after he bought his calls sent his contracts flying up nearly 1,200%. His calls were now worth $386K, and that's still after he took $20,000 out of his portfolio as a safety cushion. After 400xing his money in a week, surely he's gonna take the money and walk away. Now I find myself in a position where I can finally move out of the Wendy's dumpsters, but I'm gonna hold for another day. Pray for me, fellow regards. Valhalla or back to Wendy's. You heard that right. Elon I Love You wasn't content with going from 1K to $400,000. He wanted that milli. Coinbase ended up trading pretty sideways over the next week, and he seemed to forget about the stock. Instead of walking away with $386K, he had to settle with $265. After taking $100K out of his Robinhood portfolio as another safety cushion, he was ready for his next big YOLO. Only a day after his crazy Coinbase gain, he threw $155K into way out of the money MicroStrategy calls that expired in 3 days. The stock had just flown up 50% over the past week, and it needed to jump another 17% for him to simply break even. For whatever reason, Elon I Love You was completely convinced that this was destined to happen. 3 days came and went, and, well, the stock was $60 short of his strike price. It seemed like he was done trading for good, and maybe even lost all of his money. That was until he made his grand return on November 19th. He spent $145K on even more MicroStrategy calls, and he was already up 85.5% for the day. His luck somehow continued, and the stock rose another 10% the very next day. He made $450,000 in profit in one single day, which is just unbelievable considering he started with only 1K. With $500,000, he was still not ready to walk away. He threw the whole enchilada back into even more calls on the company. The contracts expired in 2 days, and we're currently at the money. The stock had to fly up $22 in 2 days, or else he would be losing money. Elon I Love You said, "It's not good enough for me to just leave the Wendy's dumpsters anymore. I want to buy a Wendy's." This wouldn't be very likely to happen, cause little did he know, MicroStrategy was about to fall over 16% the next day. Except, he somehow got away scot-free once again and sold right when the market opened. He opened up his Robinhood portfolio and was absolutely delighted to see $1 million in his account. The stock price started dropping right after that, and he scrambled to sell as quick as he could. After it was all said and done, he now had $826K in his account. After achieving his juicy 1000x, Elon I Love You reflects on how he was borrowing money from strangers on the internet just 7 months ago. After going from broke to a millionaire in 2 weeks, he was finally ready to walk away and give up options for good. He wanted to use part of his fortune as a down payment on a house and invest the rest of it into VU. Just kidding, he was back to YOLOing his whole portfolio literally only 1 day later. On November 21st, he went back to his roots and threw $720K into out-of-the-money Tesla calls. Elon I Love You said he was no longer satisfied with just getting past Wendy's. He now wanted McDonald's and Burger King too. He was also taking names and wives along along the way. Tesla wasn't really moving the way he wanted it to, and he woke up the next day down 111K. He was not ready to cut his losses. He left a message letting us know that he was going full degen mode. I've been getting a lot of hate and love since I posted. All I ask is you keep the same energy and I will as well. I get asked many times why I keep YOLOing. Truth is, I was broke 7 months ago, lost a girl, and wasn't feeling the greatest. I do this because I want to never look back and live that life again. I do this for the dream. If this hits, I'm gonna chill the out. 700K is amazing, but it will run out. I'm trying to set my future self up for my life or blow up trying. Too many sissies and boomers asking me why? Why are you here on Wall Street Bets if you're not gonna degen to the max? I do this for the final play so I can make it for real. I am holding strong into the next week. Apparently, 1000X was still not degenning to the max and he clearly wanted more. A higher power must have heard this rant because just about an hour later, his account hit 1.2 mil. He waited a bit to sell, but still walked away with $1.03 million. After locking in $1 million, surely he was done. But obviously by now, we all know that this isn't the case. He threw over 950K into out-of-the-money micro-strategy calls that expired only a week later. He says he has to go back to the stock because it helped him get to where he is now and he believes in it. He wants to make Wall Street Bets great again, but No Pressure 2341 pointed out, "You said in the last thread that you were done after Tesla. Said this when you were down 10% on the trade. Now look at you. Good luck, but wake the up, dude." I do think this play hits though. Halloween is far gone, but Elon I Love You woke up to a very sinister portfolio on Monday. MicroStrategy was down, and his portfolio was now sitting at 553K, which is half of what it was before the weekend. Elon I Love You may have lost money, but he said that he would never hide his losses. Doing the smart thing, he bought 375K worth of out-of-the-money SPY calls that expired in 2 days. He didn't hold these calls for too long though, and he actually switched back over to MicroStrategy and Mara calls. He was now down another 50K, but refused to give up on the dream. He reiterated that it's Valhalla or back to Wendy's. On Tuesday, November 26th, he woke up to a portfolio that was worth 238K, pretty much a fourth of what he had last week. He needed to 4x his money to make it all back, but he was ready to do that. He realizes that his previous trades were very rage-induced, but now he was thinking clearly. He did what everyone thinking clearly does and threw the majority of his money on out-of-the-money Amazon calls that expired 3 days later. Amazon rose over 3% that day, and he actually made nearly 114K, which was a 47% daily gain for his portfolio. Now at 352K, Elon I Love You said, "If this blows up, I will take the 60K I have left and call it a year. But until then, I will remain transparent about my wins." Elon I Love You reveals it's all love. On Thanksgiving Eve, his portfolio quickly dropped to 150K. He sold his Amazon calls, loaded up on Tesla puts, and recouped 100K. Still down 46K for the day, he says he's gonna eat some turkey and chill until next week. This would not be the case though, as he came back only 4 hours later with yet another update. Nuts for Puts said, "Bro, you done eating turkey already?" Apparently he was, cause he just bought 220K worth of MicroStrategy calls. If the stock didn't jump 31% in the following week and a half, he would be losing money on this play. When asked about whatever happened to the week-long break, he revealed that having to wait completely vanquished him. Speaking of vanquish, Vanquish Trader, the sponsor of today's video, offers a sim-to-fund prop firm platform where you can start with up to 300K in simulated funding for stocks and options. Vanquish Trader gives you instant access to trading data and unlimited payout requests, all while offering a 100% profit split. They even let you short stocks if you're feeling like a bear. There are no hidden fees, and they offer the flexibility to trade across devices anywhere, anytime. You can choose which account you'd like to subscribe to, each with a 6% profit target and a 3% loss limit. They let you trade with anywhere from $10,000 to $300,000. Pass the one-step evaluation in just 10 trades with unlimited time and no activation fee, by the way, and you're in. Vanquish Trader is giving 10% off to all accounts purchased with my link in the description, and they're also throwing in an additional free reset. They allow users to trade up to 5 options accounts and 5 stock accounts of any balance variety you'd like to choose. Once again, if you're interested, be sure to click the link down below in the description to get started. Mayor of Gainesville is a user who came to the subreddit with a huge predicament. The family farm was on the line, and he did not want to let it go. The only issue was that he didn't have enough money to save it. At least, not yet. Mayor of Gainesville's grandfather unfortunately passed away back in April. He didn't leave $700K behind for him to invest in Intel, but he did leave behind a fully paid off farm that was worth $1.1 million. This sounds like it would be music to the ears of any WallStreetBets user, but there were 2 issues. For one, the farm was left behind to his family, not just him. And 2, he actually didn't want to sell the farm, he wanted to keep it. It's where he grew up, convinced his girlfriend, now wife, to marry him, and where he hopes his 2 small children will grow up if things go according to plan. Mayor of Gainesville says that he would give up his right kidney if he knew how to sell it. The biggest problem was that his mom and dad had cha-chings going off in their heads. His dad was a minister at a small church and didn't make much money, and heck, his mom didn't even work. There was no way they were gonna go without their payday for this farm. Mayor of Gainesville couldn't negotiate with his parents. They wanted that money, and they wanted the full 1.1 mil. That being said, he did what anyone else would do. He booted up Robinhood and decided that he was gonna YOLO his $15,000 to 1.1 mil. He followed the hot stocks on the subreddit and jumped in on Nvidia, Astrospace Mobile, Rocket Lab, and even Reddit. He doubled his portfolio, taking it to 32K, which was great, but it wasn't exactly $1 million. And at this point, he only had 1 week left until the farm was going to be listed. He says he's fine with the possibility of going to zero. At least there's even a small chance that he will be able to keep his farm. Unfortunately, Mayor of Gainesville hasn't given us any updates since November 7th, and the status of his portfolio is just a mystery. Bidum Dips is a user with one of the most volatile portfolios I have ever seen. Right after the election, Bidum Dips thought it would be a good idea to load up on Tesla calls. He opened up a separate high-risk Robinhood account and threw in $11,000 to fuel his trades. Tesla's 40% rally in a week sent his portfolio all the way up to 149K. He 14x'd his portfolio, but he wasn't ready to give up. Caught up in the MicroStrategy hype, he threw 147K into calls. This was a pretty stagnant time for the stock, and his $147,000 fortune dwindled down to just 2K. Even after a 98% loss, he still didn't think it was game over. He threw his remaining $2,000 into Pfizer puts after RFK Jr. was nominated to serve as United States Secretary of Health and Human Services. This turned out to be a pretty smart play, and he 4x'd his portfolio to 8K. Right after that, he threw it all back into even more MicroStrategy weeklies. Luckily, this was yet another winning trade. His calls rose 1,300% in a single day, and his portfolio is now sitting at $94,000. Pure Karobe is a user who shows us that things can really change in the span of a year. Going from 30K to 9 figures is not something that happens very often on the subreddit, but he was someone who was able to do the impossible. Pure Karobe had been making trades in his Robinhood account for a while, but he didn't start making life-changing trades until September. After stumbling upon the Quant Bros YouTube channel, Pure Karobe became entangled with the stock we all know too well at this point, which was, of course, MicroStrategy. He had been making trades for over a year at this point, but those would pale in comparison to what he was about to do with this play. He threw what he had into the company, and really, the rest is history. He didn't make any posts in between, he just updated us after with this post. In the past 2 years, he was able to take 30K into $8 million. 21,000% in a year is wild, but he knew that there was still some gas left in the tank. According to him, MicroStrategy is going to a 1,000. You can still 3x to 6x your money. When asked about how he felt, he responded with, "Very grateful, can't wait to exit the trade. I currently make 175k yearly. Yes, this is new to me." Some users even call them out for being a phony, but he quickly shot that down with more screenshots and not fake. Not too long after that, he quickly came back to show us that he was up another 3 mil. Now at $11 million, you would expect him to cool off at least a little bit. But of course, that's not what he would do. Things started to look a bit rocky after these two posts though. Only a day later, he was down to $5.6 million. We also find out that he's a dad, so hopefully MicroStrategy continues its run, or he at least sells before it's too late. Cultural Jellyfish is a user who, like some other people we've heard about, got a crazy inheritance and started investing it. Cultural Jellyfish inherited a large amount of money from someone who he doesn't specifically name, maybe his grandpa. But that's besides the point, because he was given $14 million. On top of that, this 14 mil was just a piece of the pie. Other members of the family also got their share as well. After getting $14 million, he thankfully did not want to yellow it on anything. But what he did decide to do with it was probably not the best investment either. He had his money with a fiduciary that charged $11,000 a month. $132k a year might be worth it, maybe, I don't know. But he says that the returns were at best 4% a year. To put that in perspective, 4% gain minus 3% inflation minus another 1% for the fiduciary, that means he wasn't really making much of anything. After realizing he would probably be better off without them, he simply left and tried to convince the rest of his family to do the same. He threw most of his money into Vanguard Total World stock and the rest into Google, Meta, and some others. He says he's also managing some businesses he inherited. My question is, who did this guy inherit money from? Anyway, he joined the Race to 10 Million subreddit for advice on what to do with the money. He's trying to get to 100 M's and eventually a big B. White Lightning 096 is a user who tried to trade his way out of debt, but unfortunately things didn't really go as planned. The story of White Lightning begins about a year ago at the end of 2023. He threw $5,000 into a company that he says he may or may not have had private knowledge of. After pulling a Nancy Pelosi, he felt like he was an absolute genius. If you have insider information, surely there's no way you can lose money. Except he did lose money. Only 1 month after making this trade, his shares became completely worthless because the company filed for bankruptcy. Fast forward a few months, his position at his workplace was eliminated and they had to let him go. Things quickly started to unravel because he couldn't find another job. That $5K he invested was a good chunk of his savings, so he had to resort to swiping that credit card. He pretty quickly racked up about $12,000 in credit card debt and realized he was gonna have to get his hands on some money stat. He decided, might as well start gambling. He used this same credit card to load up money on some sketchy online casino. He didn't ever make any huge deposits, only about $100 at a time. All of a sudden, he realized he spent over $4,000 on this site, and that's when he knew he was addicted. Regardless, he was actually starting to make some of his money back. That was until he started chasing his losses and ended up losing the whole shebang. Then, at perfect timing, the autopay feature on his credit card resumed and tried to charge him the whole balance all at once. White Lightning didn't have the $16,000 to cover the charge, of course, so Amex canceled his card completely. That left him $16,000 in debt on this card and $3,000 on another. He sold his computers and anything else of significant value, but he doesn't know how he's gonna pay his bills this month. Educational News 523 is another user from the Race to 10 Million subreddit who managed to change his life for the better. This user only has 3 posts on his Reddit profile. One of them was on November 7th, showing off his spy gains. He was up $638,000 for the day with his spy calls and had over 1.4 mil in his Robinhood portfolio. 3 weeks later, he came back with even bigger news. Over the past few years, he was able to make over $4 million in crypto and stock gains. He's already cashed out most of the money to the bank. He also says that he grew up in a poor family and feels blessed to be here. He then says, "I'll be able to afford gifts for my kids this Christmas." So I have no idea how much he started his trading journey with. For some reason, he doesn't disclose how much he started with, but it must not have been much if his kids were originally gonna go without presents. Rich Skin 1845 said, "What's up with all these fake bot accounts posting this BS like this? Gosh, I hope actually people don't fall for this BS." Educational News followed up with another post though. "I've seen a lot of people claiming my post was fake or that I'm some kind of bot. Let me clarify." He posted a screen recording of his portfolio, and I don't know, it looks pretty real to me. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment who had the freakiest trade of fall.